What is going on? I think I can talk over this music. I forgot exactly how it goes, Law. It's been a while, and typically we just do thumbnail, and I started talking. So welcome in, everybody, to this CHGO Bears Podcast. What's going on? It is Friday, which is CHGO Audible Day.
I just wanted you to have a little music this morning.
I appreciated it. It threw me off. I know you asked if I can hear it. Didn't even think you're actually going to play it. It was so loud in my ear. I'm like, if I talk, can they hear me? Should I talk? What do I do? Was that awkward or what? Welcome back.
That was great. Good start. Here we go.
Newness. It's okay. Kevin literally was in Slack. I was like, hey, I gotta go. Showtime. He's like, good luck. I almost typed back, I don't need luck. That's what I get. I should have just accepted the luck that came my way. But I just want to say welcome in to the CHGO Bears Podcast. DeWitt, Nicholas Moreano. And I just want to say welcome to September. It is finally here. Pat yourself on the back. You did it. The long offseason gruel is practically done. We have the final roster. They've made some additional moves this week. Hell, you can say Packer Week begins now. I don't care, but finally, Nick, we're here.
We're here, Will, and it kind of feels like fall weather too. The past couple days, it's been slight little like chilly weather. I'm going out with a hoodie, taking out the dog, so just feels right. We made it, and like you said, the roster is set. It's time to start game planning, as the Bears will do. They'll have a couple days off for these next couple days, and then get right into it, preparing for the Green Bay Packers Week 1. It doesn't get any better than this, Will.
It really does not. I am just ready. Honestly, starting to look ahead to like our game preview show next week and just looking forward to seeing this Bears team in action for real. You've seen practices. We saw some preseason games, a lot of starters we haven't even really gotten to see yet. And so I'm excited to see what this Bears team will look like once we put all of the pieces together. Speaking of pieces, in today's episode, we're going to do a lot here. And the very first thing that we're going to kind of discuss is a roster comparison from when Ryan Poles took over this team compared to now. Let's see the work that he's done in 2 off seasons. We're going to play some over under. We're going to tell you who we think the most valuable Bear will be at the end of the season, a throwback to the Audible segments. And then towards the end of the show, actually the final segment, we're going to predict how many wins the Chicago Bears will have at the end of the season. It's the question I feel like we get asked as soon as the season ends, every single day throughout the offseason. So I'm excited to give our final official answers for a win total here. Nick, you ready to jump right in? We have a lot to get to.
Yeah, let's do it, Will. Like you said, there's a lot of, just seeing the roster turnover is insane, but we'll get there. But let's get right on to it.
All right, we're going to go position by position, and we're going to just look at what Ryan Poles inherited versus what that roster looks like heading into this 2023 football season. Let's begin here at quarterback. And in January 2022, Ryan Poles came over, and he's like, all right, I have Nick Foles, Andy Dalton, and Justin Fields. Fast forward a year and a half, Justin Fields, Tyson Bagent, and Nathan Peterman. Nick, I think it's obvious to say that you don't have as many, I guess, guys who've had like established careers in the NFL. When you look at Nick Foles and Andy Dalton, Nick Foles, former Super Bowl MVP, Super Bowl champion, but at the same time with Justin Fields progressing and him potentially taking that final step, I would say they're still better.
Yeah, well, and I think it's great that roster that Ryan Poles inherited had more experience for sure, but it's almost like having too many cooks in the kitchen. Like, what does that do you when all you need is one of those guys really producing and playing well? And Justin Fields going into year 3 better be better than, those guys that were there when Ryan Poles inherited the roster. So no doubt about it. And we're all expecting a big jump from him, just an overall quarterback play. But yeah, they definitely, the roster he inherited did have more experience. And I know that was something that, when Ryan Poles was talking about, he wanted to, that's why there's 3 quarterbacks on this roster. Nathan Peterman does fit that, criteria in terms of experience, but you don't ever want to see him out there.
That's why I said established with the other guys over just true experience. But when you look at the Bears quarterback, like if you looked at it strictly on paper, that 2022 would technically be better when you're just looking at the names and what they're able to do through the careers. Because now you have Fields, who's on a big prove-it year, an undrafted free agent quarterback, and then Nathan Peterman, the interception machine. So if you're like an outsider looking in, you may be scratching your heads, but if you've been following this Bears team, watching the work Justin's putting in, you know what Tyson's been all about throughout the preseason and training camp. I think you can feel good about where this Bears quarterback class is at. And for them to go young and actually want to develop quarterbacks, I think it's refreshing to say the least. And I'm excited to see where that group is right now compared to where it was, just a couple years ago.
That's a really good point too, Will. Like Tyson Bagent is a guy that the Bears have never really had here in terms of just having a young guy that you're trying to develop. And obviously Justin Fields was still a young player and still is currently, but now they do have somebody that you can just develop, and you at least are looking forward to seeing like how that development goes over the years or, just this season. But that is a nice addition and a much needed one, I think, for the Bears quarterback room.
Let's move over to running backs here. And when you look at what the Bears had a year and a half ago, David Montgomery, Khalil Herbert, Damian Williams, and Ryan Nall. Fast forward to today, Khalil Herbert, Deontay Foreman, Roschon Johnson, Travis Homer, and of course, fullback Kahari Blasingame. Nick, what are your thoughts about where it's gone, where it was compared to where it is now?
Well, I think when you look at the current group, right, I think obviously a lot of young talent, but also guys that are looking to prove themselves right now as either number one or, Roschon Johnson being his first year in the league, Deontay Foreman on a new team. So a lot of guys trying to prove themselves, obviously Travis Homer being a new addition as well. So I think they're more adapt this season to obviously be a back committee by approach, where as opposed to the roster, the running back room we inherited, David Montgomery should have been and was the bell cow, right? So I think that's the biggest difference. And still guys that are looking to prove himself. I want to see Khalil Herbert now as the lead back, which he will be, and see what he can do with it. But by the end of the year, how much is Roschon Johnson going to factor into this? Deontay Foreman as well. So it's going to be an interesting group to watch as the season goes on, and how Getsy in this offense kind of splits the carries or just distributes the ball to all these running backs.
Yeah, obviously we let David Montgomery walk throughout this offseason, and they brought in another veteran, Foreman. Same thing with Homer, and I like the versatility that this group brings. Every bag brings something a little bit different to the table, which will allow them to have more flexibility and how they're deploying those backs. Like you said, it'd be exciting to see how it all gets divvied up. But regardless, you can tell they're putting in the work. You can tell that Ryan Poles, they value some different attributes for running backs. And now when you don't have that true number one guy, you see a group that's pretty well-rounded, and it's about utilization from this time forward. But it is still interesting to see where it was, where it is, and who knows, the work may not be done. Ryan Poles said like this offseason, he filled about 80% of those holes. And obviously we can poke at what those holes are. I think they're pretty glaring, pretty obvious still when you look at this roster. But before we move over to wide receiver, I saw this super chat come in from Logan Cox just saying, hey guys, love the show. I'm a mailman in East Tennessee, and I listen to the show every day while I'm at work. I'll be up there for week 1 in Chicago. Was wondering some good places to eat for lunch before the game. I mean, wouldn't it just be our tailgate? That's like the best place. I would get some food before this game.
No, I mean, that's a perfect spot, Logan, especially if you want to hang out with some, other Bears fans, other people that love CHGO, and will be there. So I think that'd be a great opportunity for you to get the best game day experience, honestly. But it's awesome that you're making it up to week 1. It's going to be a hell of a game. So make sure, if you can, check out the official CHGO tailgate. It's best in the city. We have upgraded from last year. There's just going to be a bunch of better options, I think. And I think the atmosphere will. And obviously, we have to wait till week 1 to see that. But I just have a really good feeling that atmosphere, whether it's week 1 or, later on in the season, is just going to be the place you want to be at for Bears game day.
You absolutely, I mean, all you can eat, I think, is barbecue this year. Goose Island provided drinks. It's a great value. You're going to get everything you need. Hang out with fellow Bears fans, CHGO diehards. And then, of course, the CHGO Bears crew. It'd be a great time. And Nick, we've been to the new area where we're doing this tailgates. We've done the Chicago Bears tailgating club and all that good things over there in that lot. So I'm excited to be a part of it this year. Really great atmosphere, awesome diehard Bears fans. And definitely the best recommendation that I can think to hand your way. Thank you, Logan, for that super chat. Let's look at these
real quickly. That's the first time we met.
Met
that
in
was
person.
Met in person, the Jaguars game. That's nuts. And so we were there, and now full circle, we're going to be back there.
Yep. My phone loves to give me those memories, and they'll be coming in my way here soon of all the selfies we're taking. Like, oh my God, we met Nick. And we met in person for the first time. It was a really cool day, to say the least. Let's get into wide receiver talk. Let's look at this room, because it has changed so much. Allen Robinson in January 2022, obviously. Darnell Mooney, Marquise Goodwin, Damiere Byrd, Daz Newsome, Jakeem Grant, and Simba Webster. And now fast forward to today, DJ Moore, Darnell Mooney, Chase Claypool, Equinemius St. Brown, Tyler Scott, Bayless Jones Jr., and the new guy, Trent Taylor. Obviously, Nick, a whole rework has been made over here, just with Darnell Mooney being the only carryover. And with all the churn, what do you think? Is it better? It has to be. I think DJ Moore by itself makes it better.
Yeah, and I think, just the potential, two of the top three guys, DJ Moore, Darnell Mooney, Chase Claypool, and what they're capable of doing this season. Even if Chase Claypool is like the biggest X factor there's just a lot more potential in this Bears offense of what they're capable of doing. Then you have Tyler Scott there as well. What's his role going to be in this offense? Then you'll see what you get from Bayless Jones Jr. But I think as you're looking at this roster, like I've said it before and I'll say it again, what the weapons that Justin Fields has now should be better for should allow Justin Fields to show his capabilities as a passer. So no doubt about it.
Well, you have, Allen Robinson at that point, we can all admit, pretty checked out of what the Bears were doing. Darnell Mooney, of course, stepping up there. But outside of that, Goodwin, Byrd, Newsome, Grant Webster, we were all wanting so much more from that entire unit, to say the least. And then on this side of the equation here, just looking at the guys, it's just, I don't know, just like the running backs room, a little bit more well-rounded. I think the potential of every player is a little bit higher than the group that we saw a couple of years ago. So to me, it makes, it's night and day difference. I'm excited to see what Justin Fields can do with this group. I don't think this group is completed. Obviously, they're going to still continue to look at it throughout maybe this season, next offseason, but regardless, we can all agree that it is definitely improved. Let's go over to tight end here for this next position. And January 2022, Cole Kmet, Jimmy Graham, Jesse James, JP Holton, the GOAT, Jesper Horsted. And now if you go to September 2023, only three names as of right now: Cole Kmet, Robert Tonyan, and then Mercedes Lewis. It's interesting because both sets have three veteran tight ends. When you had Jesse James, who came from Pittsburgh, and then of course you had JP over here, and I forgot. Oh, and it was Jimmy Graham. How can I forget Jimmy Graham, the red zone monster that he was for the Chicago Bears? But regardless, Nick, and I know they tried to bring in some veterans last year in Ryan Griffin, James O'Shaughnessy, but I feel like this group is pretty damn solid.
Yeah, this is a good group for the Bears, and I think just with Cole Kmet taking another step in this offense, but also adding another complementary piece in Robert Tonyan as that receiving tight end. Then Mercedes Lewis, what his role is going to be: blocking. That's perfectly fine for a guy that's been playing nearly 2 decades in the NFL, which is insane to think about. But yeah, this group, I think, even if you compare it to last year. And Ryan Griffin was, the other tight end on that roster. There really was just Cole Kmet as the actual receiving option at the tight end position. So looking at it now, it's going to be interesting how Getsy. We just talked about the wide receivers, right? How many targets? There's only one football, but how are you going to also distribute and use those tight ends that are more than capable of just going downfield, winning their one-on-one matchups? I love Cole Kmet on the seam route, and think he's more. I think there's more opportunities there, Will. And with now more playmakers on the wide receiver position, adding Robert Tonyan, let's see if that opens up a little bit more. But definitely this group I'm feeling really good about going into 2023 season.
You get down near the goal line, you want to run a 3 tight end set. Robert Tonyan, very experienced in a red zone. Cole Kmet, Mercedes Lewis has 39 career receiving touchdowns. Maybe we can get him up to 40. this year. You have DJ Moore. If Chase Claypool can utilize his bigger body too, like they'll have size when they're down in that area of the field, which is, I don't know. It's going to be exciting to see how they want to deploy that here too. Again, so many unknowns, and especially with like the lack of seeing these guys in the preseason. So that's what gets me really excited. Let's wrap up the offense by looking at the offensive line. Let's go down to the trenches here. And for the offensive line that Ryan Poles inherited, that right away you can tell he was displeased with the group. Jason Peters, Elijah Wilkinson, Tevin Jenkins, Cody Whitehair, Chavius Simmons, Alex Barrs, Sam Mustipher, James Daniels, Jermaine Ifedi, and Larry Borum. Fast forward to the group here today: Braxton Jones, Cody Whitehair, Lucas Patrick, Nate Davis, Darnell Wright, Shatira Carter, Larry Borum, Tevin Jenkins, and the new guy, Dan Feeney. Nick, Ryan Poles has his hands, fingerprints literally all over this unit. It's changed so much.
It has. Just going down memory lane and seeing some of those names from the offensive line, like Elijah Wilkinson's like, oh yeah, he was a Bear. But no, he definitely has revamped this room. And, I think we're still waiting to see exactly how it's going to play out, right? Well, because at this point, unfortunately, we haven't really been able to see the starting five. Like at some point, some guys have been out, some guys have dealt with injuries. And when one guy comes back, another guy's in and out. So we're still looking to see how exactly this current group of offensive line is going to look. But I think just looking at it, if you looked at it on paper like that graphic showed, like this group should be better in terms of being able to provide protection for Justin Fields and just seeing, how they can make this offense operate.
Yeah, I know Gary's like, where's Doug Kramer? He was on IR. We don't have a lot of room on the screen. Some names fall off. There's over 100 players that we're listing here. So give us some grace, give us some patience. I appreciate that, Gary. But just for me looking at it, I mean, obviously, like you said, we don't know we haven't seen the five actually get to fully operate. But this is the NFL. It's a game it's a war of attrition. You're never going to have your ideal situations, and that's why depth is important and making sure you have guys that can step up in multiple ways. So when you just look at the unit, though, you can just tell that they've changed completely what they're trying to do there. The body types are different. You've changed both tackles. You moved Tevin Jenkins inside, and then you flipped him to the other side of the offensive line. There's been so many just small nuancey things too, instead of just the names that have changed. And I'm excited to see if this unit will play up to Ryan Poles' standards in terms of like bringing the nasty, supporting their teammates, their quarterbacks. We saw that really pick up last year. I expect it to take another step this season, but regardless, you can tell that he saw what he had and he's like, that's not going to do it. And so he invested in the draft. He's invested in free agency. It's a group that he's attacked in so many different ways. Do you have any final thoughts on the offensive line, Nick, or the offense as a whole before we take our first break?
I'm looking at that interior offensive line and like a lot of people, just wondering who's going to be playing where. At this point, it's been a lot of Lucas Patrick still snapping the football, Cody Whitehair at left guard. But you look at that second team unit, Dan Feeney has been snapping the ball too as well. So it's just going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. And when guys are returning from injury, how it shakes up the offensive line. But ideally, obviously, like every other 31 other teams, right, you would have liked to have seen what the starting five would have looked like maybe 2 weeks before going into, opening weekend the opening game for the Bears. But the Bears have to do, what they have, and they're still trying to figure out that offensive line. I'm sure in their minds already, they know exactly what's going to go on, but until, we actually see it, it's still kind of a little mystery.
Sure is. All right, let's get into our first time out. Plenty more to come here as we continue throughout today's episode. But I want to let you know that CHGO has a weekly Pick X and NFL Survivor Series contest for everyone to participate for real money. Here's how you can enter. Head over to splashsports.com/CHGO. Luckily, we always put the link in the description here on YouTube and in your podcast player. So make sure to click that link and sign up. Deposit cash to get started. It's just $10 to enter either of these. CHGO Weekly NFL Pick X contest. First prize, $2,700. And even if you finish in last place, you get $270. And of course, the earnings they drop as you go from first all the way down to 10th. Makes a lot of sense. And then for the CHGO Survivor contest this year, $4,500 winner take all prize. So you better get in on that. I know Gary is going to, because Gary, you know all of the things. So definitely get in this league so you can win yourself some money. And we're going to run some weekly contests all year. So make sure to keep that link handy. And if you want to run your own contest, or if you're just tired of being the commissioner on leagues, chasing people down with none of the reward, then you can sign up to be a commissioner right through our link and earn money for the contest that you're already running with friends and family. So head over to splashsports.com/CHGO to join in. We'll have different contests coming out, and we are just so stoked to compete with and against, well, all of you guys. So be sure to click that link in the description.
Yeah, definitely have to do that. Check out Splash Sports. And you also got to check out, you guys, Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary is your home for judgment-free cannabis shopping, a place where all kinds of visitors are welcome to explore, discover, and purchase a wide array of high-quality products. And Sunnyside literally has everything you need to elevate your summer. And it's a one-stop shop for all your cannabis needs. No matter where you are in your cannabis journey, easy online ordering and in-store pickup, great transparent loyalty program, Sunnyside Rewards. And let me just highlight a couple of Sunnyside's house of brands. You have High Supply, which offers quality weed that offers always available. Buds are expertly grown, lab tested, and available in vape carts, vape pens, flour, popcorn, shake, pre-rolls, shorties, and concentrates. And of course, you have good news. You got the gummies, the rechargeable vape pen, and cart perfect for great moments with the crew. And through October 15th, you guys, you can head to sunnyside.shop and use the code CHGO25 at checkout for 25% off your total order, one use per customer, not stackable with other promotions. That's not only for new customers. Anyone can use our code. So pick up everything you need to elevate your summer. And real quickly, one Chicago athlete that made me feel good on this Sunnyside Friday. I don't know if everyone's seen this yet, but Justin Fields and the Bears and the NFL, they kind of put out the video of what he's wants to do this year. And he wants to take back, basically, win the division, take the North, say run for 2,000 yards. And I think this is also in combination with the NFL 104-year anniversary of just, all these crazy goals that they want to accomplish. But Justin Fields is making me feel good ahead of this Bears-Packers game in week 1. But just in case, just a disclaimer here, must be 21 or older or be an Illinois Med card holder for Sunnyside, but go check it out. All great products there.
All right, let's get back to the action here. CHGO Bears Podcast doing a nice roster comparison. Let's see the work that Ryan Poles has done, and we did the offense. Let's transition, and let's talk about this Bears defense, and we'll begin up front with the defensive line, and I'll throw edge in there because, heck, the Bears went from a 3-4 to a 4-3 scheme, and it makes no sense to list Khalil Mack as a linebacker compared to Tremaine Edmonds. So in January 2022, Khalil Mack, Travis Gibson, Robert Quinn, Bilal Nichols, Eddie Goldman, Kyrese Tonga, Mario Edwards, Akeem Hicks, Caleb Johnson, and Jeremiah Atachu. Fast forward here to today, Andrew Billings, Javon Dexter Sr., Justin Jones, Yannick Ngakoue, Zach Pickens, Dominique Robinson, DeMarcus Walker, Rasheem Green, and Khalid Kareem. Nick, I know we switched schemes. We've let guys go. We had to part ways with Khalil Mack last offseason, which I know at the time everyone was like, and I think, we've calmed down. We understand, the bigger picture a little bit here, cut the cap, figure it out, and now rebuild better. Obviously, you don't have the star power of a Robert Quinn and a Khalil Mack together, even though really the Bears didn't have it that season prior, just with all the, the injuries of Khalil Mack. But what are your thoughts just about the Bears defensive line, where it was versus where it is? And I also want to mention, as a big name from the previous one, Akeem Hicks. He deserves that credit.
Yeah, no doubt. I think obviously, when you're looking at the group they inherited, it was a big move by Ryan Poles when, decided to trade Khalil Mack, because obviously a guy with his pedigree, I think that's when you knew, though, that Ryan Poles, I don't know if for real is the right way to say this, but was willing to move on from an established player and kind of get things to his own, essentially. But this group that you currently look at, yes, it doesn't have the star power, doesn't have obviously the consistency that some of those other guys have shown throughout their NFL career, but there's a lot of young talent. A lot of guys are trying to prove themselves in a sense, right? A lot like how I was kind of describing the running back room. I could see that with the defensive line, especially when you look at the interior with the two rookies, even a guy like Justin Jones, who was on the last year of his contract currently right now, but DeMarcus Walker getting his big contract of free agency. Yannick Ngakoue's got his 1-year deal. Can he show enough this season to get another deal by Ryan Poles. So a lot of guys are trying to really prove themselves and hopefully do a far better job than last year's group, right? Because obviously there wasn't enough pass rush by any of those guys. So we need a complete overhaul in terms of the production from this group that I think is looking to really prove themselves in 2023.
Don't you get me started about last year's group. That's why we skipped it just for this position, because you talked about the lack of sacks. They gave up the most rushing yards since like 1967. And this is a Chicago Bears defense. That should never happen. It was not even, don't get me upset. So just like looking at this group, but I like the mixture of solid veterans, guys that you're banking on taking a jump like Walker, and then building this thing through the draft. Pickens, Dexter, like they're supposed to be the future here. Give it a year or two. They're supposed to be the guys to take over. And Andrew Billings, someone that can help fortify the base defense, help against the run. I like what the Bears are doing here. And it did take some time just due to the scheme transition to find guys that were better fits, and you couldn't get all of the contracts. Like you couldn't get out of them all in 1 year. So it makes sense to kind of slowly build at this thing. And again, it may not have the big names, but I think you can see the vision and where it's going, how it's transitioning. And I still think when Ryan Poles mentioned, I filled 80% of the holes. Premier pass rusher is one of those holes, and it has not been filled. It just wasn't in the cards with this free agency, this draft. And that's fine. He said it's going to be a couple-year rebuild. But when I look at the roster and he says 80%, I'm looking for that guy, that game-changing guy coming off the edge. He's not here yet, but that's okay. I think we'll see what we have right now, and guys will step up and get the job done. They're serviceable.
Yeah, well, that's a hole. I think even in the interior offensive line, maybe that's one of the other holes too. Finding like an established guy down the road to just keep. But I think also too, when you look at this current group, a lot of people will talk about Travis Gibson, Terrell Lewis, who are no longer on this football team, both providing, pass rush in the preseason. But who are the guys that are in their place essentially? Rasheem Green and Khalid Kareem. I said on a couple shows ago that I'm going to get those guys mixed up, but those guys, again, fit the scheme a little bit better and also are probably better run defenders than the two guys, Gibson and Lewis. And we know how bad the Bears were at stopping the run. They were, they were awful at rushing the passer, but they were arguably worse at stopping the run. So you have those two guys there instead to, help this defense be more effective at, getting off the field and stopping the run more effectively. So I think that's also a part of what you're seeing with the current group. They need to be able to stop the run, and then you'll find ways to rush the passer. Yeah,
no, the Bears gave up 31 rushing touchdowns, which is the only time that I've seen them, give up that much. I couldn't tell you the last time I saw them give up over 30. It may not have ever happened, to be honest with you. That's how bad it was, Nick. So that needs to get cleaned up. And we'll talk about the win predictions later, but that's a big reason that I think the Bears will get more wins. It's because he will be able to stop the run more effectively. God, there's no way it could be worse. At least that's the hope. Let's get over to this Bears linebacking group because this is interesting. So January 2022, Roquan Smith, Danny Trevathan, Christian Jones, Alec Ogletree, Josh Woods, and Joel Iyiegbuniwe. I'm glad I can still rip that name out. September 2023, Tremaine Edmonds, TJ Edwards, Jack Sanborn, Noah Soul, and Dylan Cole. Obviously, two different defensive schemes. You had to make a lot of adjustments here. Danny Trevathan was at the tail end of his career. Christian Jones always serviceable at best. And then just special teams kind of only guys that never really developed. Like Iggy, he did not really develop like we were hoping to see here in Chicago. But you fast forward 2 years, and really this was the offseason that did it, I think, for the Bears. But bringing in Edmonds and Edwards, I feel like it's easy to say this is, at least for me, the best linebacking duo. Like you can say like Roquan and early Danny Trevathan would be really good, but still I think Urlacher and Briggs, and now you're looking at these two guys. And I know going back to a 4-3 makes an easier comparison, but I'm still very high on this linebacking group and think they're a top 3, top 4 unit in the entire NFL when you're looking at your starting lineup.
Yeah, well, I think, fast forwarding all the way to the end of this 2023 season, I think we'll be talking about how good of this line, if healthy, how good this linebacking group can be. And you'll see Jack Sanborn at times and maybe even Noah Sewell too, as well, to factor into the whole entire group. So I think this is a group, definitely the strengths of this current Bears team. And you see the money, the financial investment from Ryan Poles in getting Tremaine Edmonds and TJ Edwards, and just seeing what Matt Eberflus being a linebacking coach, that background there. They wanted to invest in this position. They wanted to be a strength of this Bears team, and they have that now. They have that coverage ability, but Tremaine Edmonds, I think, man, this season could do some really special things. And I do believe that, and seeing him back on the field is such a boost for this defense.
Mm-hmm.
Like the guys were talking, I think it was Andrew Billings. He was asked about like just hearing Tremaine Edmonds' voice and how he calls the huddle and call things out. It's just something that you have your leader in place. You know that you're going to be in the right spot. You know that with him in the middle of this defense, if everyone executes, things are going to go right. And that's kind of the presence that Tremaine Edmonds brings. And so I'm really excited to see what he could do. Like even in limited snaps against the Bills, there was one play where the wide receiver is just running a slant route from the slot. Edmonds gets over there, drops the ball. It's like, yeah, you probably don't want to get hit by 6'5", 250 pounds. I get it. He has that presence, Will.
He does, and he's very well established. Over 100 tackles every single year. He's been in the league. This is year 6 for him, and he's only like, what, 25, 24? Like, he is crazy young. Entered the league at 19 years old as a first-round draft pick, and like in many ways, like he can be remembered as a Chicago Bear if this goes correctly, more so than a Buffalo Bill, and that's I think what Ryan Poles is banking on, and that's what I'm hoping to kind of see play out here too. Let's move over to actually one last thought. When you look at the bottom end of the roster, we talked about guys who didn't develop or pan out. And then we have the flip side. We brought in Noah Sewell, who we believe will be a very good special teamer, can develop into a good strong side linebacker. And then you have Jack Sanborn, who wasn't even drafted. We brought in and ended up playing really good last year at a high level, and now being that Sam backer this year in a role that I think he's a more traditional fit for. I'm excited to see what kind of season he has, and just shows like building this thing, and not just through free agency, because we talked about the 2 guys, but also through the draft and the draft process, like your undrafted free agents as well. But now let's go to the defensive backfield and begin with the cornerbacks. Jalen Johnson in January 2022, Kendall Vildor, Artie Burns, Thomas Graham, Duke Shelley, Marquis Christian. What a group. September 2023, Jalen Johnson, Tyreek Stevenson, Kyler Gordon, Terrell Smith, Josh Blackwell, and Jalen Jones. Again, another group where you see them building through the draft and a huge youth infusion. And really, I think the floor has been raised, the ceiling's been raised. And when Poles and Eberflus were first hired, and like we were at the combine and we're talking to him about, like, that's actually what I asked him. I actually asked Eberflus, what do you want out of a corner? And they said, a quarterback? I said, no, a cornerback, coach. Corner.
I remember that.
And he was talking about the length and the speed and just wanting to have like the arm length specifically is what he said. And when you look at the body types that the Bears have now compared to what they did have over like a Duke Shelley, like if you look at Duke Shelley, then a Terrell Smith or a Kyler Gordon or a Tyreek Stevenson, huge difference. Same thing with Vildor.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Like, it's completely different. Not only the players, but like you said, the physical makeup of these guys. And, now I can't believe they had like Jalen Johnson. Obviously they drafted Kyler Gordon, that first season, but still, like, you had Kendall Vildor having to play significant minutes. Obviously he's now on Tennessee. They claimed him not too long ago. So it's crazy to think about that. How much that group has, I think, improved, and just the potential of it. Because even with Jalen Johnson, I think he can still get better going into this season. Hopefully show more ball production. Kyler Gordon, I am so excited to watch Kyler Gordon this season. And Tyreek Stevenson, I asked Ryan Poles when he spoke, and along with Ian Cunningham, what'd you make of his summer? Little ups and downs, but he was really pleased at what he had seen from Tyreek Stevenson, and that he can forget when a bad play happens and kind of move on. I would say a mindset that is an absolute necessity to have as a corner. Tyreek Stevenson's really showing that. So I'm really looking forward to the secondary, and obviously we'll get to the safeties in a little bit, but specifically just the corners, they're going to be a fun group to watch. They
really are. No, we're going to get to the safeties right now. And if you look at that 2022 group, Eddie Jackson, Deshaun Gibson, DHC, DeAndre Houston Carson, and then Deion Bush. And then September 2023, let's get here now. Eddie Jackson, Jaquan Brisker, Elijah Hicks, and then Quindell Johnson. Nick, obviously, the interesting part about the group that Poles inherited, it was actually built through the draft decently under the other GM named Ryan. When you look at Eddie Jackson, DHC, Deion Bush, at one point, Adrian Amos as well. So there's just a lot of different, I don't know, it was a good unit built through the draft, but now you see the Bears kind of doing the same here with Brisker, Hicks. I know AJ Thomas is on a practice squad, but I still think he is someone that the Bears are high on and like to have around in this building. But overall, I think the biggest thing that luckily it was answered last year was the fact that Ryan Poles knew in order to get Eddie Jackson back, you have to pair him with another high-end safety. You need a tandem. And then as soon as that happened, as soon as he had the best caliber player since Adrian Amos, Eddie Jackson came back. And I think the coaching staff and the scheme and all that also helped, but you can't neglect having a great partner alongside you in that defensive backfield.
No doubt about it, Will. I think that was key to getting Eddie Jackson back to what he's capable of doing. And, that's why he's wearing the seat this season as one of the four Bears captains. So, if Jaquan Brisker can stay on the field and, the Bears put out a video or a little picture of him saying, "You ready for Brisker's season 2?" Hopefully we do see him out there against the Packers week 1. I mean, what's the ceiling on this unit? I don't know, because Eddie Jackson was playing at a level that if he kept that up with that defense, I can't imagine what he can do now with theoretically a defensive line that's going to be more adequate at getting to the quarterback, a linebacking group that can cover more ground and just drop back in zones a little bit more effectively. And then just let Eddie Jackson do what Eddie Jackson does and roam around, be that robber in the middle of the field and just get interceptions, make plays. It's going to be such a fun group to watch. I think Jaquan Brisker, like I said, if healthy, is going to be all over the field too as well, because I know that's something that he wanted the coaching staff to kind of look into. Like, yes, he could play in the box, but he's still capable of doing a little bit more. So fun group to watch. And Elijah Hicks, I think in the early portion of training camp was kind of getting picked on a little bit by DJ Moore and stuff. But I think later on he showed that he belonged. He knew exactly where he needed to be, was making a little bit more plays. So you have some guys on the back end, younger guys that, you could still just keep developing and seeing where they can go.
Yeah. Any final thoughts about this entire exercise? I thought it was fascinating just to see all of the work that's been put in and, trying to look at that 80%, like what's that 20% that's still like missing. And I know like we can do special teams. The only person that changed, Trenton Gill from Pat O'Donnell, you go younger, you brought in a punter. It's been one season. Again, it hasn't been glaring, and we can look at a return game and everything too. But for the sake of time, we'll just look at the core that we just did here. But any final thoughts?
It's just, when a new regime comes in and obviously they inherit the previous, that previous team's roster, it's like there is a lot of work to be done. So when teams do make this significant jump in the first year of a turnover, that's pretty incredible considering how much maybe a team would have to go through. And you look at the Bears in this exercise, there was a lot. There's a lot that the Bears did last season. There's a lot that the Bears did this past offseason. And now I think it's time to see where, all that change, all those new additions, what they can actually do in terms of the win column. And we'll get to that. But it's just it's a fun exercise to look at and just to reflect on some of the names that were there and now the ones that are currently here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you can look at every single position. I can argue that every single one is better in terms of, I think, floor and ceiling. Like the overall floor has been raised. The potential's higher, but it's all about execution. We talked about that early on in this episode, and it's worth reiterating just one more time. So we're going to take one more break, and then we come back. We're going to play some over-under. We're going to tell you who we think the MBB is going to be. And then we'll keep on going, and we'll actually tell you how many wins we think the Chicago Bears are going to get at the end of the season. But before we do, I want to make sure you know that this episode of the CHGO Bears is brought to you by BetterHelp. I personally can attest to therapy. I've been in therapy starting in January of this year, and it has helped me through a lot, whether it be my relationship with alcohol, my relationship here at home, my colleagues, friends. It's just done so many wonders, giving me a space to talk about my thoughts, my feelings, and then getting good feedback that I'm able to apply in my everyday life. And it has helped me tremendously just have a better perspective on my days, live life a little bit lighter, and just be the best husband, the best parent, the best coworker, and the best friend that I can possibly be. And I would really encourage anybody who's even considering therapy to go ahead and do it. I really sat on it for like 2.5 years with depression, anxiety, and it really just kept weighing me down. And it's just been a great way. It's only been 9 months now, actually 8 full months. And just very proud of my own progress, and just want to let you know that you can do that here too. So there's a lot of great things that you can do here with BetterHelp. So if you're definitely thinking about trying therapy, I would give it a try. Head over to betterhelp.com/CHGO. You can answer a few questions about yourself and your goals. You'll receive an email once you match and start connecting with your therapist. And from there, you can start scheduling sessions. So let therapy be your map with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/CHGO today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/CHGO.
Yeah, you definitely have to check out BetterHelp. And also Ray CDJR grand reopening, you guys. Get your ducks in a row because it's the grand reopening of Ray CDJR in Fox Lake. Flock in September 9th and celebrate their Get Ducked event with free prizes and your chance to win $1,000. Plus, during Jeep Adventure Days, get employee pricing on all new 2023 Jeep Gladiator models. The grand reopening of Ray CDJR in Fox Lake is only on September 9th, but their savings are all month long, so you have to go check it out. If you're looking for a new car around this time, you already know where to go. Ray CDJR grand reopening is happening in Fox Lake. Get over there, check it out, and you can say that CHGO sent you. So it'll be a good time. Go check it out, everybody.
All right, Will DeWitt, Nicholas Moreano. We are here for the Friday edition of the CHGO Bears podcast. We did an awesome roster review. I hope for those that are listening, just making sure that we're listing each and every one of those names was helpful for you. I know there's a lot of players to kind of even remember that we're here and then are also here this year, but we're going to move on and we're going to play a couple rounds of over-unders, and then we're going to do a old school audible throwback. I guess both these segments are, and predict who the MVP is going to be. And both these segments, unfortunately, we're going to omit Justin Fields here just because he is the obvious one. I can do probably an entire 60-minute episode about Justin Fields over-unders for the season, to be honest. So let's begin with someone new, and that's DJ Moore. Nick, I'm setting the line at 999.5 receiving yards. So I'm pretty much asking, will he have a 1,000-yard season or not? His average is 1,040 over in Carolina.
We're going over, Will, and I think that that's not crazy to say by any means, just given what DJ Moore has done consistently throughout his career and what he has done with quarterbacks that are not as talented as Justin Fields. So even though this is his first year in Luke Getsy's offense, and DJ Moore is, said at times, yes, it is complex. There's a lot of things going on, but from what I've already seen throughout summer, so even in the preseason games, Justin's going to go to DJ, and DJ's going to create plays on his own to get over those 1,000 yards. So I think that's an easy over. Just go to, DraftKings, wherever. Take the over on DJ Moore receiving yards. You're going to win some money at the end of the season.
I love it. I'm going to take the over on this as well for all the reasons you said. And honestly, I was just doing a math exercise while you were talking. If the preseason's any indication, he had 2 catches and 100 yards. He just needs 20 catches. That's it. And then 20 catches this season. Obviously, he's going to reach 1,000. But no, seriously, the Bears have 3 guys on their roster right now that have had 1,000-yard seasons in the past. And it's going to be difficult, I think, for the Bears to get 2 of them into the 1,000-yard mark. Just with all the weapons that they have, you know that they're going to run this ball. Justin's going to get a lot of yards on the ground as well. So I'm going to say DJ, if there's going to be a Bear to do it this year, it's going to be DJ Moore. And I forgot who had the question as a longtime listener. It was really early on, but they're like, I really hope Will does not get a DJ Moore jersey. I will not. I haven't even thought about it. Don't you worry. I am going to let DJ cook all year long. I'm not going to even impact that whatsoever. So like I said, don't worry. But let's get to Cole Kmet here. I'm going to look at touchdowns. What about 7.5 touchdowns can Kmet? Can he go over his 7 last year, which was like top 5 in the position?
He was top 5, and he had a nice stretch too, where he was just getting touchdowns. I'm going to go under on here. Oh. He'll get the set. 6 or 7 wouldn't be bad for Cole Kmet, and the receiving yards goes up. But I don't look at that as a, he's getting worse or anything after getting this big time contract. But the ball, there's a lot of playmakers now from last season when Cole Kmet down the stretch of the season. Well, he was the only guy. Like, let's be completely honest. There was no Darnell Mooney. Did you want to throw to Equanimous St. Brown and Dante Pettis at times? Probably. Like, it was Cole Kmet. So I'm going to go under on the 7.5.
I'm going to say over. Rob in the chat made a great point about Robert Tonyan being here. Another guy who I do believe will excel in the red zone in this Bears offense, has experience with Getsy. You go back to the 2020 season, he was like a tops of the NFL for receiving touchdowns inside the 20. So he is more than capable. And that defenses will be keying in on 85 a little bit more than Tonyan. So that, again, it would make sense. But I'm going to say if we're paying Cole Kmet, he gets the contract extension. Yes, we want to see the yards go up, but I want to see him score a little bit more. So I'm going to just say the over, and it's all going to be, situational and where that ball ends up going, as we know. But I know he's capable of it. Let's see if it comes to fruition. Now we're going to switch over to the defense. We're just doing a quick round here today, everybody. And we'll play this every week on Fridays. So it'll be a lot of fun for those games. But Tremaine Edmunds, Nick, 109.5 tackles. He only has 2 seasons under that mark. But I will let you know that those 2 years were the last 2 seasons. So, like, he's actually gone down like every year in terms of like his total tackles. But when you have like 130 or whatever that number was as a rookie, which tremendous, by the way, it's easy to see it, but he's still been over 100 every single year as a pro. But 109.5 over under.
We're going over here, and look, you can look at this both ways. It's okay. Tremaine Edmunds, very productive player, is going to get a lot of tackles regardless of what defense he's in. Could also be like we saw sometimes in the preseason where running backs are able to get to that second level, and these linebackers have to make tackles, and that's all right. It's going to happen at times, but I think just seeing the range that Tremaine Edmunds plays with, just how he thinks about the game, being in this scheme, he's going to be in a position to make a lot of tackles. So I'm taking the over on that one.
I'm taking the over too. The TJ Edwards edition will be interesting too, because I think they're going to be both tackle machines this year, just racking up big numbers, both up there in the NFL ranks for the past couple of years. It'll be interesting to see how it all kind of gets divvied out. But regardless, I expect them both to make plays. But I'll say over just because I expect them to have it. But ideally, the Bears offense is on the field. They're chewing clock. They're, sustaining drives. Defense doesn't be out there a lot, but also for Edmunds to have those tackle numbers in Buffalo with the offense that they've had for the past couple of years, maybe that's part of the reason why the numbers went down too, by the way, because that Buffalo offense kept getting better and better under Josh Allen. But I'm still going to say over. It just feels like the easier path to victory here for me.
Yeah, Matt Nagy in the chat here said over, the Bears defense will never get off the field. You're funny, Matt Nagy. They're going to get off the field a lot better this season than they did in 2022.
And I thought, why not have some fun with the last one? And let's do Tyreek Stevenson. And I have 2 of them for him because everyone's talking about the yin-yang of Tyreek Stevenson, the good and the bad that you're going to get with him. So the first line will be the yin. 2.5 interceptions for him this season as a rookie.
2.5. He's going to get targeted a lot, Will. He's going to get targeted a lot this season. Let's take the over. Let's get crazy here and take the over. He's going to get a lot of opportunities. Will he give up some touchdowns? Sure, of course it's going to happen. He's a rookie corner. But I think he's going to be in position where he's shown that he can recognize some plays if he, recognizes what the wide receivers do on the line of scrimmage, how they release, like he got the interception against the Bills. He's going to be in position to make plays. So I'll take the over for Tyreek Stevenson.
I love your logic. I'm going to just follow suit. Jalen Johnson, early part of the season last year, no one was thrown his way, and they weren't succeeding when they were. Kyler Gordon taking that next step. So for Tyreek, Yeah, I like the over. I mean, he was so close how many times in training camp? How many times throughout the preseason? Finally end up getting one. So, like, he just has that knack for being able to make a play in the ball and being in that position. So, I like it. But he's aggressive, and we know he has to work on that a little bit. So, I wanted to set an over-under for DPI calls, the defensive pass interference. I'm setting at 3.5, which you're already doing over. I will let you know that the most any single player was called for DPI last year was 5. Can you break that? Hopefully not. Let's just say no.
Hopefully not. Let's say no, but I think he's going to be over on that. He can be a little handsy, and just how refs are calling things now, even if it's questionable, it's an offensive league. People pay to watch points be scored, so I can see it happening over. But yeah, hopefully it's not over the 5, or he sets like a new record in those. But
that'd be awful. Yeah, we don't want that. But I'll say under, because instead of pass interference, it's just going to be like illegal hands or defensive holding or something a little bit more. I was going to say less severe, but I think both of those are automatic first downs. So they're still pretty severe to give offenses a whole new fresh set of downs to work with. But regardless, it shows like it's not even the boom or bust of Tyreek Stevenson. It's like boom and boom, but like a good boom and a bad boom. Like you just kind of want it to be, somewhere in the middle. But hopefully the good outweighs. I'm not even gonna call it the bad, because I like my corners being a little bit aggressive, but you have to be calculated with how you use your hands, how you contact those receivers down the field, box them out, use your body, and maybe some of those nuances he will kind of figure out, which will really, really help the kid out. But regardless, I think we're all very high on him and the potential he has to be a very good player for the Bears right away as a rookie. But that's it for over-unders. Nick, are you ready to do MVP picks? Not name Justin Fields, because if we just said MVP, we both just say Justin and move on.
Yeah, no, I'm ready. And well, just real quickly, like doing these over-unders, like it feels good. I know football season's here. I know we're about to like preview a game because we're doing over-unders, MVPs, and it's me and you on a Friday. Like this feels right, but I am so ready for our MVP segment.
Oh, me too. I'll go ahead and do mine first. So I feel like I've been deferring to you a lot throughout this episode. So I'm sticking with the offense, even though we can't say Justin Fields. And I'm going to go with DJ Moore as my MVP here for the season. I think he's just going to provide a ton of value across the board, whether it be a third down security blanket for Justin Fields, the guy that's getting open in that intermediate passing game. And as we saw in the preseason, even if he catches that ball 12 yards down the field, that doesn't mean he's not going to gain an additional 5, 10, 15, 20. He takes it to the house kind of guy. He already proved his ability to do so here in 2 catches in the preseason. And on top of that, opening up things for Cole Kmet, Darnell Mooney, if Chase Claypool, can get out there and take advantage of having a true number 1, too. That would be really helpful here for the Bears. But his ability to be Justin Fields' best friend, someone he can really rely on in those crucial, you got to make this catch situation, those 50-50 balls. Like, I can keep going on and on about why DJ Moore is going to be super valuable to this entire Chicago Bears team. But I'm going to keep it at that. But so MVP for the 2023 Chicago Bears season, not named Justin Fields, DJ Moore.
I can't argue with that one, Will. It's a good choice. And if I want the people who are in here in the chat, put your MVP, not named Justin Fields, just to see who people are high on this season. I'm going with the guy that I've been talking about, I feel like all off season, with Kyler Gordon being my MVP for the Bears. I just see his comfortability just showing up consistently, playing that nickel corner spot. And yes, he may not be on the field for every single play, but he's going to be on there for a majority of them and make an impact when he is out there. And it's not just what he can do in coverage or how he's diagnosing plays now, being in his second year, but what he's capable of providing too in the run defense as well. Like we talked about, the Bears need to be better in that area this season. And Kyler Gordon, he likes to be physical. He wants to be in on stopping the run. And here are going to be opportunities where they're going to send him to go get after the quarterback or just have to make a tackle on the edge. Like he's capable of doing that. And he's got the physicality, just the athleticism to move in space. And, I'm really looking forward to seeing that Spider-Man celebration all throughout the season. Well, whether it is an interception or, a big play over the middle, a big hit, Kyler Gordon, I think, is primed to just ball out in 2023. And I cannot wait to see what he does against the Packers come week 1.
I just want to say thank you for doing that and choosing Kyler, because I felt like there were times last year, especially in probably the first half of the season when we were doing like After Darks, and everyone, whether it be like, Greg and everyone on the show or in the chat, but everyone was like throwing tomatoes like right at Kyler, like, boo this man. He's not picking this defense up. He's really struggling. And I was trying to exercise patience. This kid's learning two positions and learning and playing two positions at the same time. It's something he's never had to do before. And I knew he had so much talent, and not just like the physical attributes that you mentioned. I mean, his vertical, my God, that's an insane vertical that this kid, he floats when he jumps, he floats and he hovers, and then like he stops and pauses at the top of the jump. It's remarkable. But his football IQ, and I think that's a testament of them trusting him to learn two positions last year. And really it allowed the Bears to get a lot of film on both and at the end of the day, decide, is he going to be our nickel corner or is he going to be our outside corner? And then once they had that answer, they want him inside, you draft a guy like Tyreek Stevenson, and now you complete your cornerback room. So that's, I think a testament and a reason why I think Gordon can really take a step forward this year. But I just wanted to share my appreciation for some of that Kyler Gordon love, because I think it's not a long time coming. It's his year 2 for him, but it's something that I think fans will know the name, like the more like casual fans will know the name Kyler Gordon when this year is all said and done. So really good call, Nick.
Appreciate it. Well, no, I think both of our guys are, regardless of who ends up being better, but I think they're both going to have outstanding 2023 seasons when everything plays out in this upcoming season.
Excellent. All right, so that's it for over-unders and BBs. We only have one thing to do with Bears talk, and that is we have to let you know how many wins we believe this Bears team's going to get. But before we do that, we have one final timeout. As you know, this is football. We get 3 timeouts. That's just how it works. So this is going to be our final timeout. And Nick, you're up first with the message from Goose.
Yeah, as everyone knows, CHGO is supported by Goose Island Beer Company, Chicago's beer since 1988. As you can hear, the goose is goosing, I guess, if you will. Here, real quickly, the beer roster, and you should know it by now, but you have the Goose IPA, the 6-time medal winner at Great American Beer Fest. Always in style, the citrus aroma, bold hop finish. If you want to go crazy, you can go to the Tropical Beer Hug, dry hopped Imperial IPA, 9.9% alcohol. That's dangerously easy to drink. You also got the Full Pocket Pills, everyday beer, what the brewers are drinking. And you can grab an ultra fresh brewery exclusive beer at Goose Island's original brew house on Clybourne Avenue in Lincoln Park, or from their tap room on Fulton Street in Westtown. Goose Island Beer Company, as you know, is Chicago's beer.
Good stuff there, Nick. I want to make sure that, we're getting ready for these tailgates, right? Like we keep talking about, like we're going to these Bears games, we're doing these tailgates. We can't wait to see you. I want to see you decked out in like some of the most badass like Bears apparel that you can find on the internet. And that's at foco.com, because they have like all these new things. And I've been talking about them for a couple of weeks for the NFL season, but they have like specific Chicago Bears sunglasses you can get, straw hats, backpacks, coolers, which are really cool too. I talked about those best friend bracelets. I'm hoping someone buys them, gives one to Nick, gives one to me, and then they get to keep the third. I think that would be really cool. Nick loves to wear that jewelry over there. You know it. So definitely get the Bears best friend bracelets and hand it to us over at a tailgate. But Foco really has the best sports gear around. And with football season, I want you to head over there and definitely get everything that you need for game day. And this is a remote show, but if we were in the studio right now, you would see some great set decorations that they have just donated a few awesome pieces for our sets. So definitely head over and show them some love. So check out foco.com, or just click the link in the description below. That's here on YouTube and, of course, on your podcast player of choice. So for all non-presale items, use promo code CHGO at foco.com for 10% off. All right. We finally made it to the thing that everyone's been waiting for us to discuss probably for this entire episode. And to answer the question, I told you, I feel like I get asked every single day as soon as the Bears season's over, but how many wins next year? Like as soon as you find out the opponents, How many wins is that going to equal as soon as the draft is over or free agency is over? Like, that's the question that comes up over and over and over again. And so it's time to go ahead and do this. And Nick, I want you to go first.
Okay, we're going to start this off. 2023 season, like we previewed and showed you how much different this roster is from the one that Ryan Poles inherited. We highlighted some players that are going to make some big, jumps this season. And we know that the Bears won 3 games last season and should have probably won some more. I look at this and I look at, who they're playing, obviously, what I expect from certain players. And I think this Bears team will win 8 games. I'm right there with Tareen right there. 8-9 for the 2023 season. I think when you look at and this is obviously with a jump from Justin Fields, utilizing all those weapons he has, seeing a better defense. There's just still some things, like I said, those holes that Ryan Poles was talking about. Like, I wonder, not having, maybe you have Yannick Ngakoue as your established pass rusher. We still want to see what DeMarcus Walker can do, and he's been banged up this summer. The interior of the defensive line, you have some young guys, but it's probably going to be later on in the season where you see them more into their roles, getting acclimated to the game. The offensive line, still for me, so a little bit of questions, but hopefully towards the middle of the season, you can see them gelled in sync and just have that consistency that you kind of wanted going into the start of the season. But this is obviously a huge jump for a Bears team that won 3 games. And I think the coaching, like, that's another thing. I saw someone put it in the chat here, like, coaching will be better. I agree with that too. It was all this, the staff's first year doing all this, going through a season, adapting together and trying to figure out how to, put your players in the best opportunities, the best advantageous situations to win. And we saw that when Fields was going off running all over people. Now I think going into year 2, you just have more comfortability. Everybody does. And even with the new players. So 8 wins for me is where it's at. Do they make the playoffs with that? I don't know. They have to, we have to factor in everybody else in the NFC, but it's definitely doable. The NFC is not as crazy quarterback heavy with the elite guys as obviously the AFC is. So going with 8 as my final number for the Bears to win in the 2023 season.
Definitely obtainable. Absolutely gonna happen. I have no reservations about 8. I'll sign off on 8 wins, and I can raise the bar because that's what Will does. Like, I talk myself into heartache and heart pain usually, but not this year, Nick. This year is going to be different, and that's why. And everyone's asked all year, no, Doug, I'm not doing 14. I'm going with my tried and true number. And if I talk myself into last year's roster doing this, I can talk myself into this year's roster doing it. So it's going to be 11 wins for the Chicago Bears this season. They were 1-7 in those 1-score games last year. I feel like Fields having a better supporting cast, a better offensive line, having DJ Moore, they're going to be able to close games better this year. And let's not even talk about the defense being able to close games better on their side here too. And almost half the games, being almost 1-score games last year, despite the defense giving up the most points per game in the NFL at 27.2, despite giving up 30 plus rushing touchdowns, 2,000, like it felt like so many rushing yards, like the most I've seen since I think the NFL since the 67 is what I saw. And then when you look at this defensive group, linebackers, the DBs, the revamped defensive line, they're too good to give up 27 points per game and be dead last in the NFL game. This defense is not the worst defense in the NFL. They're not going to give up you the most points. On the flip side, this Bears offense, they didn't reach 20 points per game last year on average. And that's been an issue for the past couple of seasons. 20 is that magic number that the Bears can't seem to find on a consistent basis. I don't see that happening this year with Justin Fields if he takes that step that he must take, that I expect him to take. So if you're scoring more, you're giving up less points, you're better in the 1-score games, man, you're talking about a lot more fun this year, easier strength of schedule. So I don't know. Again, easier opponents, Fields jump, more points scored, less points allowed, Fields clutch in the 4th quarter. We're going to have a lot of Victory Mondays. I'm going to wear this shirt this year. I can actually wear my Victory Monday shirt more than 3 times, maybe. That would be great. So I expect to wear this double-digit times this season, and I'm just excited for the year to come. But I talked myself into 11. I'm going to stand by my 11, thick and thin. Hopefully they prove me right.
Yeah, well, look, at some point they got to do it, right? You had him at 11. It's going to, like, with the jumps, with the additions, with, guys coming into this coaching staff being in year 2, Fields being in year 2 of this offense, we better see improvement. We better see improvement. And I think a lot of people in the chat would agree that the Bears are obviously going to be a better team than they were at the end of the 2022 season. And if they can just make those jumps if Justin Fields can make that jump,
that's it,
man, they are in way better. They're going to be in a lot more positions to close out those games, which they finished 1-7 in, and they should have won a lot more of them. And if they had a better roster, maybe they already do it. We already see more wins last year when that was a daunting schedule. It was a daunting schedule that they faced, and they faced some really good quarterbacks. So let's see it. Let's see it happen, man. Let's see this Bears team make that jump and show that Chicago obviously has made all these changes, but it's because they're trying to compete. They're trying to be relevant. And not only, like, I go back to what Ryan Poles said, take back the North, right? The first time he gets in the house hall, or when he gets to address everybody, take back the North. You need to show signs of doing that this season. If not, then obviously things have gone wrong. But I think where this team is at now, they're in position to really show that they're going to be real contenders when everything starts clicking.
When I just go through my lifetime and just watching this Bears team and covering it with you once we got, once we were older and we met and we started this thing, like if I was able to, stand behind as a child, I'm going to say this, I was a child, but Rex Grossman or Kyle Orton. And then as I got a little bit older, Jay Cutler, then if I can buy into Mitchell Trubisky, like if I would do all of those things, why wouldn't I just put my faith in the Justin Fields? Like out of all the guys that have came before him, I think he's more deserving of having the backing, having the confidence. And again, if I can talk myself into supporting those group of individuals, I'm going to do the same thing here with Justin. I'm going to believe that he will make this jump. And like you said a few moments ago, if he does, the wins will follow. They must follow. That's just how this thing will go. So I pray this ends up being the case, and we'll see how it all shakes out. But I'm going to set we'll set the expectation low guy and let you exceed my expectations. I get that part of my brain, and that part of my brain is yapping at me right now to shut up and put my number down to like 9, because 9's a very safe, happy sounding number. It's like, it's not double digits, but it's actually a pretty, it's a good number to have, like in terms of like the end of the season of like, hey, a 9-win team. That's not too bad. Mm-hmm. And for being the first overall pick to 9 wins, that would be a tremendous jump, but I'm hoping for a leap, and I'm going to put my eggs into that basket here on September 1st. Ask me again in mid-November, and we can always reconvene. But Nick, this was a really fun episode. I know there is one super chat that we have here still from Logan. He says, love the CHGO Audible Edition. Thank you very much. You guys are the best. Which player do you think will surprise us the most this season? Ooh, a surprise player. I think I'm going to let Nick go so I can think about it. Oops.
Ooh, surprise. So I guess maybe didn't have the highest expectations going to the season, or maybe coming off injury. Surprise for me. I'll go with, let's say, DeMarcus Walker. I think before training camp had started, I was pretty high on DeMarcus Walker, just kind of seeing how he operated, how he was wired. He's a very fiery type of guy. And then it kind of went down because I hadn't seen him, but surprise player. I think we're going to see DeMarcus Walker utilize inside. You're going to have him out at the edge, but also inside when you need him to. He's got that capability, that versatility as a player. But by the end of this, I want to just have that sense, like, that's why Ryan Poles went out and signed DeMarcus Walker. And I saw some love for him earlier in the chat, so that'll be my surprise player for the 2023 season, DeMarcus Walker.
There you go. I like that one a lot. I'm trying to think of a play.
Oh no! What happened to Will? He got
11 wins. It just stopped the bandwidth and stopped.
Oh my gosh!
I wonder who he's going to go with. I saw Chase Claypool getting some love. Law, do you have a surprise player? Do you have? How many wins are the Bears getting?
It's less than Will DeWitt said.
Okay, that's a good answer. I like that.
Yeah.
Maybe
I
we'll
don't know what's
just-
going on with Will here. We could wait for him to come back. Let's see here. I don't know.
He said,
I'm not sure where he's
"LOL,
at.
my internet is dead." All right,
Oh,
that's
well,
gonna. I
all
think
right.
that's
Well,
gonna do it
how
then.
about this? We'll tell everyone about the T-shirt sale. We're like in the final hours of this T-shirt sale. Everyone, go get yourself a nice CHGO T-shirt, $24, or those beanies. It's gonna be winter before you know it. $24. Get after it. Maybe wear one to a tailgate. Look at that. There we are.
Perfect. Yeah, I mean, you got to rock your CHGO gear. Take advantage of the sale. They have a bunch of awesome tailgates coming up. I'm actually wearing one of the CHGO Bears shirts here. You can
I
take
think we wore
advantage by
that,
getting this one.
on a drive together, didn't we?
We did, yeah. And look, we're back here. We're closing out the show. I'm surprised you're not wearing the shirt too,
Yeah,
Law.
sorry about
But
that.
take advantage of the sale. Check out the tailgates, and make sure if you're not a diehard already, check that out as well. There's so many perks, and becoming a diehard, you get discounts on the merchandise, discounts at the tailgates, so many great opportunities and exclusive content that you get for being a diehard. But football season's back, everybody. We're really looking forward to hanging out with a lot of you that hang out in this chat in person at these tailgates and all the events we'll have at CHGO. But for Will and I in Law, that's going to do it for today's episode. But as you know, bear down, Chicago.